Hey my loves, you can call me Lashe, and today we're going to be drafting and cutting an Anne-Marie Inbuilt Corsetted gown. Make sure you watch till the very end as you don't want to miss out on any important parts. Don't forget to leave a like, drop your comments in the comment section and subscribe to my channel for more of these videos. For the upper part, we'll be starting out with a basic bodice pattern. Mark out a straight line at the very top of your pattern paper. That will serve as our starting line or our shoulder line. From your shoulder line, measure and mark out the bust, under bust, waist, and in this case, a Basque line. You'll see in a minute just what we need the Basque line for. When it comes to measurements, I can be very meticulous, and that is why I'm marking out the same measurements at the farther end of the pattern paper, just so I can get the accurate measurement while ruling it out. While marking out the length of the measurements, I make sure to add half inches to all the measurements, and that is just to factor in the half inches that I will use to join the shoulders together. After marking out the center front, bust, under bust, waist and Basque line, go ahead to measure out the shoulder length, which is your shoulder measurements divided by 2. I also went ahead to mark out the neckline, which is the normal 3 inches by 3 inches. We're not going to be using the neck measurements, it's just an outline to make things easier. Come down by 1 inch from the shoulder and with a line connect from the neck to the shoulder length, and you can go ahead to mark out the neck measurements. From your shoulder, mark out your armhole, which is your armhole divided by 2. Mine is 16 inches, so I'm marking out 8 inches. On your armhole measurements, mark out a line that will now serve as our chest line. With a straight line, connect the shoulder length to the chest line. On your armhole, divide the armhole measurements by 2. And at the midpoint, measure 0.5 inches inward. This will help to eliminate gaping in the front armhole area. With your curved ruler, connect the points together. Maneuver your ruler to make sure the lines are flowing. Now to the darts. Use your nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2 to mark out your lines. Mine is 7 inches, so I'm marking out 3.5 inches on the bust line and the under bust line. Connect this with a straight line. Now let's move to the bridge between the bra cups. Mark out 0.5 inches on the bust line and the under bust line. Connect with a straight line, and you can mark out the bridge line at the bust line to be more visible, just so it is easier to spot later on. This bridge helps to separate the breasts, and it is very crucial for the overall support of a corset. Here, I want to determine where I would like my bra cup to start from. I've decided to go for 7 inches from my shoulder line, so I will just demarcate this with a little point. To get the exact measurement of your cup length, measure from that demarcated point to your under bust. What I have here is 6.5 inches. Now to the circumference measurements, starting from the bust. Divide your bust measurements into 4. Mine is 8 inches. Mark that out and add your sewing allowance. I'm adding 2 inches. Replicate your bust measurements plus sewing allowance on your chest line. For the waist measurements, since this is a corset, this is the moment where you would subtract as much inches as you want from the waist to give you that snatched effect. My normal waist measurement is 24 inches, but I'll be subtracting 1 inch, so I'm left with 23 inches, which divided by 4 is 5.7 inches. As this particular corset method does not require darts, there's no need to add dart allowance. So I'll just go ahead and add my 2 inches sewing allowance and connect the chest line to the waistline. If this were a basic bodice pattern, normally you connect your waistline to your hip line, but in this case, I'm making use of a Basque for my front piece. So I'll mark 1 inch from the waistline down and connect this. Then I'll go ahead to connect my new line to my Basque line, as you can see me doing right here. Now it's time to move to the infamous bra cup. Cut out a small piece of paper about 9 inches long and 12 inches wide. I'll mark out a straight line lengthwise and a straight line crosswise. The lengthwise will serve as our center front and the crosswise will serve as our under bust. To get our bust line, align the under bust of the bra cup paper to the under bust of our bodice paper, or you can just measure from the bust line to the under bust line. Transfer this measurement to the bra cup paper and mark out a straight line, just like I'm doing right here. Once you're done with that, we move to the center front. From the center front, mark out your nipple to nipple measurement on the bust line, under bust line, and at the top of the bra cup paper, and you connect with a straight line. Once you're done with that, from that same straight line, you mark out your nipple to nipple measurements again, but this time add 1 inch to it. Mark this out on your bust line and under bust line and connect with a straight line as well. Remember the bra cup height we talked about not long ago? We're going back to that now. So from that small point you demarcated earlier, measure down to your under bust. Mine is 6.5 inches. So I'm just going to mark that out on my bra cup paper. Now connect that with a straight line. Once you're done with that, it's time to create our darts. From the under bust, mark out 1 inch on each side of your nipple to nipple line. You can decide to mark out 1.2 inches or 1.5 inches, depending on how busty you are. I'm not that gifted in that department, so I'm going ahead to mark out 1 inch on both sides. Making use of my curved ruler, I'm going to connect the marked out 1 inch from the under bust to my bust line. On the center front, I'll mark out 1 inch at the upper and lower parts of my bust line. Once you're done with this, connect the lines with a straight ruler. After you're done with this, you repeat this same process on the other side of the bust line. Mark out 1 inch at the upper and lower parts and connect with a straight ruler. As you can see, our 3-way bra cup is already taking shape. Let me know if you have any comments by dropping them in the comment section below. After I'm done connecting these lines, I'll go back to the center front and from the upper bra line, measure and mark out 1 inch. Don't touch the middle part of the bra line as that is the length of the bra cup. Now mark down 0.5 inches from the other side of the bra line and with your straight ruler, connect the lines towards the upper bra line. And as with any drafting process, make sure you smoothen out any pointy section. To give your bra cup even more defined shape, go in by 0.25 inches at the new upper bra cup line and connect down with a straight line. If you're still watching, please show me some support by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much. With your curved ruler, connect the bust points to the under bust points and repeat the same thing at the other side. For this other side, make sure you do not go beyond the under bust line. So make sure to position your curved ruler appropriately or do this in batches. Now I'll argue that we've gotten to the most important part, and that is the part of labeling. You don't want to make any mistake after you're done cutting or while you're trying to sew the parts together. So go ahead and draw out arrows that demarcate the direction of each piece. You can also label it 1, 2, 3, just so you know how to position the pieces while you're sewing. Once you're done with this, you can go ahead to cut out the pieces. Keep in mind that when you want to cut out these pieces on your fabric, you have to add sewing allowance all around. You can decide to add 0.25 or 0.5 inches around. Now this is me coupling the pieces together with a masking tape just so I can show you how it looks when sewn together. And now you can see our 3-way bra cup fully coming together. If you follow the instructions in this video up to this point, I'm sure you have a bra cup that is well fitted to your bust or the bust of that of your client. While sewing, make sure you sew in straight lines so you don't have points like this on your fabric. Remember the visible line we drew on the bridge of the bust line? That is where you place the center front of your bra cup, and make sure the under bust of your bra cup is well seated on the under bust of your bodice pattern. Now holding the bra cup firmly but not pushing down, trace a line around the bra cup from the center front towards the armhole. Draw a tiny line from where the bra cup stops to meet the armhole. Now go ahead to trace the upper part of the bra cup as well. Once you're done, you can remove the bra cup and straighten out the lines if need be. Now that we're done with the bra cup, we can go ahead to draft out the Queen Anne neckline. On the shoulder line, I'm marking out 3.5 inches from the armhole and adding 0.5 inches allowance. You can decide to increase or reduce these measurements based on your preference. Then at the bracket line, I'm marking in 2.5 inches from the armhole. Again, you can tweak the measurements based on your preference. Now connect the line with a straight ruler. This is up to preference as well. You can decide to connect with a curved ruler instead. Once you're done with that, we have our yoke. Now to the fun part, boning channels. You can decide to measure out your boning channels, or you can freestyle just like I'm doing. There's no specific placement for boning, so it's entirely up to you. But be sure to keep in mind that bonings are for structure, shape, and support. So make sure that wherever you place your boning channels at serve this purpose. Now cut out your already drafted upper body pattern. Don't forget to cut out the bra cup section as well, as we'll be sewing in our already made 3-way bra cup. Also, you can decide to cut out the boning lines, but I wouldn't be doing that as you will need to join them back, and that defeats the purpose. For this pattern, I've cut out my yoke, but you can decide not to cut yours. And here you have it. You can see it's already coming together. The bra cup is looking perfect, and the Queen Anne neckline is also popping. Just so you get the vision, here is the sketch I made for this outfit. Now to the back pattern of this outfit. As always, start out with the starting line or shoulder line, and from your shoulder line, measure and mark down the bust and waistline. Ignore the fact that I measured out the underbust line. You really don't need it for this back pattern, and you wouldn't be needing the Basque line as well. I'm ruling out the lines, after which I'll move to the neck area, marking out 3 inches by 1.5 inches. Mark out the shoulder length, which is your shoulder measurement divided by 2, and come down from the shoulder by 1 inch. From the shoulder, mark out your armhole measurements divided by 2. Mine is 8 inches. Now connect with a straight line and rule out a straight line underneath, which will now serve as our chest line. Connect the armhole to the chest line with your curved ruler. This time, don't mark out 0.5 inches at the middle point of your armhole. Now mark out the circumference measurements starting from the bust. Repeat the bust measurements plus sewing allowance on the chest line and mark out your waist measurements. Don't forget that we subtracted 1 inch from the waist measurement for the snatching effect, so repeat that on the back pattern as well. Once you're done marking this out and you've added the sewing allowance, connect the chest line to the waistline. Once you're done with this, mark out 1 inch from the waistline down and connect this together so the back and front aligns properly. From the chest line, measure and mark down 1 inch and connect from the armhole with your curved ruler. This is just to add a bit of shape to the back. From the center back on the new line you just marked out, go in by 1 or 2 inches depending on your preference and the size you're working with. You'll be cutting out this marked out section for the lacing at the back. You don't need to, but I'm drawing out the eyelet so it's just easy to envision. Once done with this, I'll move on to the keyhole area. From the neckline, mark down about 1.5 inches. You can increase or decrease the measurements based on your preference. From the center back, mark in about 6 inches. Again, this measurement is based on your preference. Once you're done with this, use your curved ruler to connect the dots. And that is it for the keyhole area. You can decide to make use of hook and eye or buttons to clasp the keyhole at the back. For the boning channels, just like the front pattern, you can decide to measure it out or freestyle it. Once you're done rolling this out, you can go ahead to cut out the back pattern. Once again, you can decide to separate the yoke at the back, or you can decide to leave it as is. For this outfit, I've decided to leave the yoke as is, because even if I cut it, I will just have to go ahead and sew it together, which once again defeats the whole purpose of cutting it out in the first place. If you've been following this tutorial word for word, you should also have your perfect cutout just as displayed on the screen. Now that we're done with the upper part, let's move to the lower part of the gown. Start by drawing out a straight line that will serve as your starting line or your waistline in this case. From the waistline, I'm placing my tape rule at 15.5 inches, although my waist length is 16 inches, but this way the extra half inch will serve as sewing allowance to connect the upper and lower part of the gown. So from the waistline, mark out the hip line and the gown length. Measure out the circumference of the waistline and add 2 inches sewing allowance, not forgetting that we've subtracted 1 inch from our waistline. Measure out the hip circumference as well, which is your hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance. Mark out your hip measurement plus 2 inches allowance on the gown length. But if you're going for a penciled effect, you can subtract about 2 to 4 inches, depending on your preference. To get the Basque line on the lower part of your gown, align the upper part on the lower part, making sure that the waistline is sitting exactly on top of the starting line of your lower part. Once they are properly aligned, go ahead to use your ruler to create the Basque line. Now you can see the essence of adding that 1 inch below the waistline on the upper part of our pattern. After this, you can go ahead to cut out your lower part pattern. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain, but if you don't, feel free to go back and rewatch and I'm sure you'll get it. This is the complete look. What do you think? If you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section and I'll be sure to respond to them. For the back part of the lower pattern, all you need to do is mark out about 1 inch or 2 inches depending on what you use for your zip allowance. Now I'm transferring my pattern paper onto my fabric, which in this case is muslin, also known as calico, and this is because I want to make sure this pattern is to my liking before transferring the pattern paper onto my main fabric. But don't worry, I'll make sure to show all that process on this channel. So if you haven't, make sure to subscribe and turn on your post notification so you get notified immediately I post. Don't forget to mark out the necessary sewing allowance if you didn't add allowance while drafting your pattern, especially at the cup section. The same goes for the 3-way bra cup pieces as well. Mark out about 0.25 or 0.5 inches sewing allowance, depending on your preference, all around the pieces, and you can go ahead to cut them out. Once you're done cutting out the bra cup pieces, you can go ahead and cut out lining for all the pieces as well. I'm cutting out the lower part on the calico fabric, and once done with that, you're left with all the pieces that you need for your Queen Anne Inbuilt Corseted gown. If by now you're yet to like this video and subscribe to the channel, what exactly are you waiting for? Do that right now. Thank you for watching this video, and until the next time, bye!